Dear students, in the following recording, the video didn't come up right. I apologize for that. Please consult the internet web page. Follow the lecture from the internet web page. I apologize for that. Please bear with me. Thank you.
Okay. Now, in this last article, we will conclude the Future of Flight series of articles by discussing flying taxis, or in other words, urban air mobility. Flying cars are almost here, but they don't look like cars. The first ones available are most likely to run as taxis. Blackfly is one of the strangest flying machines yet built. Its body resembles a small whale, though when flying the whale is facing backwards. So let us see it this way. Attached to its nose and tail are two wings angled to the horizontal. Each wing sports four propellers. Seen from below when airborne, the thing resembles a slightly flattened letter H. So let's have a look at this. Two wings angled with the horizontal and the propellers. Okay. Its inventor, Marcus Lang, and its sponsor, Larry Page of Google, hope it will spawn a transport revolution. I have a video of Blackfly on the presentation, which I will show also another picture in a little while. People have talked of flying cars for years with little to show for it. In part it is because they took the idea of being car-like too literally. In part it was because the technology was not yet available to build them. Blackfly in no physical way resembles a car. It's a single-seater and wheelless. Its convex belly means that it can land on most surfaces, rocking its way to stability after landing, so that it needs no undercarriage. Yet it is aimed at the car-owning classes. It doesn't look like a car, but it is aimed at the car-owning classes. It has a car-like cruising speed of 100 km per hour and a range of between 40 to 60 kilometers. More than 95% of domestic car journeys undertaken in America and elsewhere are shorter than 50 kilometers, and the majority involve only the driver. So it is a chance of replacing the ubiquitous car. Who knows one day. Okay, let's continue. As to technology, Blackfly has a carbon fiber airframe, electric motors for propulsion, lithium-ion batteries to provide the power, and smart software to stop the pilot accidentally killing himself or anyone else. Moreover, Blackfly has been designed so that it qualifies in America as an ultralight. That means the person flying it is required to have neither license nor training, though the firm will, in practice, insist on customers undertaking an induction course before they take delivery. Okay, so let's have a look at this Blackfly in our slides. So we are talking about urban air mobility. This is the Blackfly. I have a YouTube video, an interview with the inventor and the Blackfly flying and also landing. So the specifications, to repeat: one-seater. It is piloted by the person and there is no passenger. 100 kilometers an hour speed, 50 kilometer range. Carbon fiber airframe, electric motors for propulsion, lithium-ion batteries for power, smart software flight management system, and also of importance is no license and no training required. Okay, coming back to the article. Urban air mobility is the buzz phrase behind Blackfly, UAM, Urban Air Mobility. And the firm is not alone. A bunch of companies, many of them, like Opener, founded specifically for the purpose, have come up recently with a plethora of designs for single or two-seat personal air transport. Personal air transport. That is catnip to technophiles like Mr. Page. Okay, like Blackfly, most of the new designs derive their motive power from arrays of electrically driven propellers, an arrangement pioneered by the small multicopter drones that took to the air a decade or so ago. Some firms have simply scaled drones up. One such is EHang, a Chinese outfit that was already in the drone manufacturing business before the idea of urban air mobility took off. EHang's two-seater, the 216, was unveiled on April 4th, 2019 at a show in Vienna. It has a cabin that sprouts 8 struts, each fitted with 2 propellers. Unlike Blackfly, which is piloted by its occupant, the 216 will be, at least to start with, a robot. For EHang's initial plan is to run the craft as taxis rather than private vehicles. So this thing will be fully automatic. Let me show you a picture of EHang, the Chinese. Okay, I have a YouTube video showing this EHang flying. So this is the struts that the article talks about, and 16 if you count the ones below. Okay, coming back to the article. So this is EHang. We have just seen Blackfly, and there are more that we are going to learn about. Another firm building a scaled-up drone is Volocopter, a German startup. The two-seat cabin of its eponymous vehicle, meaning the vehicle is also called Volocopter, is attached below a 18-propeller structure that resembles a spider's web built of curved strands of silk. This, like EHang's craft, will offer a pre-programmed point-to-point service for avoiding traffic jams. Okay, so it will also be autonomous, and it will give taxi service to people who want to jump from a point to another in crowded cities. A second German company, Lilium, has another approach. Its prototype, which has rear-mounted wings, a pair of canards, and is propelled by electrically powered ducted fans rather than propellers, made its maiden flight in May. So these are not prototypes, actual vehicles flying. Let me show you the Volocopter and the Lilium. So this is the Volocopter, that spider's web-like structure, that 18 propellers. I have a YouTube video of this thing flying as well, and this is Lilium. This is a different kind of a design, but also helping to move people from one point to another in a city, providing air mobility, urban air mobility. Still more, we have back in Silicon Valley, Kitty Hawk, yet another firm, part owned by Mr. Page of Google, has also added wings to provide extra lift. Its two-seater Cora has 12 small lifting propellers and a single large rear-mounted one to drive the thing forwards when in flight. Okay, Kitty Hawk. Let us see the Cora of Kitty Hawk. So this is the one that we are talking about. It looks more like an electric aircraft than a drone, but it has got a propeller at the backside over there, and it can also do vertical liftoff due to the propellers on the fixed wings here. Now coming back, so besides the Kitty Hawk, Airbus of Europe, Airbus's Special Project Unit A-Cubed, also based in Silicon Valley. So that European company is based, its special unit A-Cube is based in Silicon Valley, has come up with Vahana aircraft that has 4 rotatable propeller-laden wings. Rotatable propeller-laden wings. These point upwards for takeoff and landing and forwards for level flight. That is the rotatable part. Even Boeing has blatantly joined the party, having unveiled its own, so far nameless, offering in January. So this is the Airbus offer, and Boeing is also in the flying taxis business. They have also proposed, unveiled their own flying taxi. That was in January 2019. Okay. So this is Kitty Hawk, and that is Vahana of Airbus. Okay, now we are about to conclude our discussion of flying taxis and the report in general very soon. So let us discuss the social implications of these vehicles. Unlike everything else discussed in this report, even the return of supersonic passenger aircraft, if you think about it, urban air mobility has the potential to change the way society works. It is not exactly a disruptive technology, at least not yet. Planes, trains, and automobiles will still continue to run more or less as now, but if flying cars really take off, as it were, it would be a transformative technology. For local transport networks would surely change quite a lot. So this can have social, this can start some social change, just like the cars did. The cars changed the geography by because roads, transport networks, roads were created after the invention of the automobile. So this flying machines can also change the landscape. They will make the roads redundant, and they can fly on top of buildings, etc., changing really the transport networks that it is hard to imagine today. As with supersonic passenger planes, the private firms involved in this field have a tendency to make optimistic claims. Now, the article is evaluating the claims of these companies, but some really are getting close to commercial operation. In April 2019, EHang received permission from the Chinese government to begin test flights, such as island hopping with passengers. Volocopter will be conducting trials of its craft in Singapore later 2019, also with a view to starting an air taxi service. And Opener, another company, plans to start making Blackfly commercially by the end of the year. One city to keep a particular eye is São Paulo in Brazil, where the authorities already permit taxi journeys by helicopter to avoid the crowded streets below. So São Paulo is famous for its traffic, and because there is already helicopter services there, flying taxis will find use there easily. Success in that city, São Paulo, that would be a model for other large cities, particularly ones in middle-income countries that also have inadequate roads. That's an interesting point. Our Istanbul can also be a city where these flying taxis find use. Okay, now that was a balanced evaluation. Still, I would call it optimistic. Okay, let us conclude the urban air mobility with this paragraph. Integrating such taxis into air traffic control systems should not be too hard. One model of the future is that, as has been suggested for ground cars, increased automation. So increased automation will mean people just call for a flying car when they need one, and it will fly in to pick them up, flight plan filed and ready. Moreover, there are fewer obstacles and surprises in the sky than on the ground, so pilotless flying cars may be easier to build than driverless road cars. That's an interesting point. Already autonomous cars, driverless cars, the technology is becoming mature. So the article is suggesting that it will even be easier for the flying taxis because flying will be easier than driving around on roads for driverless cars. If firms like Opener have their way, though, private pilots will buy them for the sheer joy of being in control. This we are talking about the black fly here. That will require new air traffic control systems if people fly them for as hobby, perhaps ones in which craft talk directly to one another for collision avoidance rather than being centrally managed. Okay, now we have come to the end of this article series, and the report concludes with the following paragraph. Let us go through the paragraph and finish this part of the discussion. Back in the more mainstream part of aviation, the future looks bright. Fleas are growing as more people in more parts of the world can afford to travel. Now, this is a very optimistic way to end the report. However, remember everything is before COVID. Aviation is going to be different, and we don't know how much of this momentum will still be there after towards the end of this year, when we have a better picture of how the pandemic is going to unravel itself. But beside the COVID pandemic, the report says the future of flight is optimistic because the traffic is growing. People can afford to travel more. This series of articles started with a quote from the novel The Leopard. It is obviously the author likes that novel. There it said, if things should stay the same, everything must change. We started with that quote and discussed that in a little bit of detail. So the article is concluding again with another quote from the novel, which says railways will serve up the Italian boot. The map on the map Italy looks like a boot, and the railways actually sew up the Italian boot. That's a nice visualization, uh, visually making a point. So the author concludes by saying the growth of air transport is doing something similar to the planet. In other words, it's bringing the planet together. So, despite recent tragedies, flying is getting safer, it's also getting cheaper, and at least on a per passenger kilometer basis, it is getting greener. So, and it might also get even faster. Remember the supersonic flight. And it concludes by saying the Hegelian synthesis of technological conservatism and innovation that governs the field is both literally and metaphorically delivering. Okay, so it looks like this technological conservatism and innovation is actually pushing the field forward. And I would like to conclude by making a summary of this last paragraph here on the presentation. So let's say the growth of air transport is shrinking the planet, shrinking geography. People and cities are becoming nearer, and inside cities it will be easier to hop from a point to another. Technological conservatism, and there is conservatism in aviation, and innovation is pushing the field forward. I think I made innovation a little larger than conservatism here. So technological conservatism and innovation is pushing the field forward. Despite recent tragedies, of course, flying is getting safer, cheaper, and on a per passenger kilometer basis, greener. And also, let us add faster with the supersonic flight. I thank you for following this exposition of the articles. I hope that gives you a little perspective about the future of flight. Thank you.